huge announcement that we have to make is that War Toons is going to be a free-to-play game.
Finally
Color me
letting that out, guys.
surprised.
Well, for a solid, like 15 of them, they may not have heard that.
No,
so.
I realize that.
Yeah. Basically, we are going to be a free-to-play game when we come out. We're planning on coming out later this year. And so to go a little bit more into it is Brian, our monetization strategist. So I guess questions are, why are we a free-to-play model?
So for me, the biggest reason is just so we can grow the audience as large as we possibly can.
Okay.
So we want to be global. We want people who, log in at 2 a.m. to have enough players to, find a match. We want you to have a short matchmaking time if you're looking to get into a quick match right before dinner. So we want to have, a really big audience because our game has a multiplayer focus. So sometimes you'll see paid games, if you take maybe like Evolve as an example, that's recently kind of came out on console, which have a, kind of a short life. They come out, they have a lot of interest in the, kind of few months when they're, new and fresh, and then their community stagnates over time, and you can't appreciate that game a year later.
Exactly.
So we want to be something that has a long lifetime. We're continuing to improve it year after year, and we just want the players to be able to quickly get into a match.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be a game that grows. That's something that we really want to express, is that, like, it's going to start off as as a great game, but it's just going to be filled in with tons more stuff, and just, it's not just going to be free to play just for the sake of free to play. Like, we want War Toons to be here 5, 10, 15 years down the line, and we won't want you guys to have new and exciting stuff to be excited about. Why do you want to come back to War Toons? Well, something new came out this week, or they have a huge expansion or something coming up. So War Toons is going to be a continuously growing and evolving game.
Yeah.
So
this is a game that we hope to bring a lot of life into
coming
time. So
we plan to have a lot of content.
Yes.
This game will be supported for a very long time, is what we're saying. And shout out to
we have a lot. So
Shigurane who got here from the Reddit thread. Welcome.
Nice.
And then we ended up seeing. There's a question actually. J. Mike abides. How will you end up monetizing? ? Skins ? I don't think we've really set that down, have we?
No, we haven't. So basically, all we're really ready to talk about now is that we've unveiled the free-to-play monetization. But we will be... The way that we monetize is going to be very explosive and colorful, and we are excited to do that. And honestly, the whole reason why we're even sort of unveiling that we're free-to-play right now is because our CEO, James Chung, was at a convention last week called SVVR and accidentally kind of let it slip. So I was like, well, let's make a thing out of it and kind of whip this thing together. So we just kind of, I always hate it when companies have that thing where it's like, everybody knows something happened, people are already talking about it. And so I'm just like, let's just get it off of our back. Let's just go out and do it. Because that way, when we do something bigger, like the way that we're going to monetize, it's not like hindered by, we already knew that kind of a thing. So,
A quick little thing there with, I was just about to actually talk about that with Faith STK. We are absolutely, positively making sure that kind of mentality is not inside of our game. For pay to win.
Pay to win, absolutely.
That is
going to be a thing.
That's going to be something for me as well. I'm going to make sure that we strive for that as the QA lead. I want to make sure that when we have this game, that everything is balanced, everything is for the most part fair, and if we need to start doing tweaks on an active system, that's where I will be interfacing with the designers to make sure that we have as balanced as possible for a free-to-play game in this instance.
No golden ammo.
No one-shot kills right off the bat.
So, and that's going to be our striving mentality that everyone is on board with. Our designers, our producers, myself, everyone who has the ability to edit certain values. We are going to make sure and strive that it is not pay to win, and that everybody going in has a good shot to be able to win based off of their skill.
Shigurane, so obvious question since I came from the Oculus Reddit. Oculus exclusive, yes or no? No, it will not be an Oculus exclusive. At the moment, we are going to be on the Oculus as well as PlayStation VR.
Yep, and we're looking for a 2016 release, and yeah, that's pretty much everything there.
There
so.
will, of course, also be a non-VR version for both PlayStation
That's true.
and PC.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Now I noticed that somebody didn't know what World War Toons was talking about it earlier. World War Toons is a cartoony first-person shooter that was designed for VR, but it's not just for VR. We have a non-VR version as well, and probably in about like 5-10 minutes, we actually play it and show it off to you guys. So if you stick around for just a couple minutes, you'll actually get to see the game in action. But
people are asking about the Vive.
So, do you mind if I take this question? We would love to be able to support every kind of VR that's going to be out there. As it stands right this moment, we are developing for the PlayStation VR and the Oculus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we do in the in the future beyond that is something that I would say would be reasonable. Would you agree?
I would say that's reasonable.
Yeah, it's more than reasonable that we're going to be touching a lot more.
Yeah.
We would have liked to anyway, is what we're getting at.
Exactly. So basically, the way that we see it is like right now we could either develop for the Vive or we can put more stuff in the game. And
Exactly.
right now we want to put more stuff in the game. So now somebody asked about touch controllers or an Xbox controller. So the way that we have the controllers working right now as we have it is we use an Xbox controller. However, motion controllers are not out of the question. Last year at E3, we actually showed on the PlayStation VR using the Move controller. So us releasing with motion controls is not out of the question, but it's in the same ballpark of the Vive. It's like right now, do we want to focus on motion controls or put more stuff in the game? And we want to put more stuff in the game, but also since the game is in development, we can spend all this time working on touch controls and then realize that they are awful because we do something to the way that the characters move. So right now we're waiting on polishing the core and making sure that everything that's in our core version of the game is solid and all this super fun stuff is tacked in there, and then we'll focus on that. But
we're pretty much preventing from feature creep.
yeah.
There are two questions. One we actually accidentally skipped over. Dinner Sonic wants to know if we're going with the Team Fortress 2 / Splatoon model for our monetization.
Was he talking about monetization?
Yeah, or for our monetization.
The details on that,
Yeah,
I think we're not
still
really
working
getting
on
into,
that,
right?
Yeah, we're not getting into those details.
I mean, it's up to you guys, I guess. I mean,
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, I guess
it's not up to me. It's up to a CEO.
Yeah, that's true.
And
we're not revealing it yet.
He's
but
currently
our-
predisposed. He was
our
supposed to be
plans-
here, but
our plans, I think we can say, our plans are similar to other popular games for sure. We're drawing a lot of inspiration from the titles that we love to play and that we think are fair.
Yes.
And I think we can also say that, our overall philosophy is that we want to monetize through allowing players who want to pay more variety, but not more power. So, they might have access to different forms of content that would take you longer to acquire if you, were playing the game just as a free-to-play player, but they won't have access to content that gives them, an advantage when they're in a match over you.
right.
So,
It's not
just
entirely monetization as it is the general releasing constant stuff to excite fans.
yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, what Dinner Sonic said is like, the way Splatoon works is that they're constantly releasing stuff to keep fans excited, and I can say 100% that is exactly what we're planning on doing.
Yes.
We have worked on many different ways to of times to release and when to release and stuff like that, and we've pretty much come set on one way, and when we get ready to release that, you guys will see it, but basically there is going to be tons and tons of stuff for you constantly to be excited about.
And there's even stuff down the line that's not even
Yeah.
been created yet that we're already even talking about doing. So,
Yes.
The one thing that J. Mike Abides put in is that, have you investigated cross-platform play? So cross-platform is actually kind of an interesting beast to tackle with. I don't think we're really going to be announcing if Pretty much that information, like I would have to start talking to programming about.
Let me
so-
put it this
in
way.
development.
Yeah, let me put it to you this way. We're coming out for PlayStation. Street Fighter V is on PlayStation as cross-platform play with PC. We'll see what we can do.
Exactly.
So, can't wait for the news.
Ah!
So the news.
Seems like you,
this is. I knew
missed
it.
it.
I knew this was gonna happen. So all day, all the stream. Basically, the news is that World War Toons is going to be a free-to-play game when it's released and all that stuff. I keep on. I hate to say when it's released because people are like, "What about a year down the line? And then you have to pay." No, it's gonna be free-to-play game. It's super.
Oh,
simple.
come in. Come in. So we want to introduce someone very special.
Well, he's been on the stream.
Yeah,
before.
Well, yes, he has. But come on, sit down.
Mhm.
No.
So.
I can stand.
This is James Chung. He's our CEO, and he's the guy who's withholding the press release right now. So no, I'm just messing. So yeah.
Sorry, I'm late.
No.
It's okay. No, you had a company to run.
Yeah. Mondays are quite crazy here in the office. Like we always have a Monday meeting. There's always like you're in a meeting with our CFO or COO, and like those are crazy. It's pretty nuts. Mondays coming in. There's like no ramp up time. It's like Monday morning. Like I came in at like yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
it was like I was here at 8:15 and was like time to go, and like
Chop.
it's time to go. So, but yeah, so
So where are we?
Yeah, so we announced that we're free to play, and we were talking about how we're not ready to get into the exact way that we're free to play, like our monetization strategy.
People were asking about that,
Mhm.
but we haven't really told them anything.
Yeah.
So.
But basically, we were talking about why we are free to play. So won't you give your
If
take
you want.
on it?
I think we hinted it along the way, like
Mhm.
right? We
I think
dropped
so,
the
too.
hints here and there.
Yeah,
and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely.
But so and you know, I just talk about it in a high level. You might have covered it already, but
Thank you,
What was
Reconzer,
that?
for following us.
no.
Oh, yeah.
35 followers.
Thank you so
Wow,
much.
yeah.
So I know free to play, like especially in the core gaming market, it's sort of like it carries some baggage in
Mhm.
a negative sense. Like I mean, I think when people hear it, like a lot of people have like kind of cringe at it,
Mhm.
and rightfully so, because I think especially in the Western market, right? Like we never had this. In China, that's like the only model that exists, right? So
Mhm.
people are used to it and stuff like that. In Western market, if you think about it, you know, we went through. First of all, especially America is big enough where it can support different sort of monetization models.
Mhm.
Not only that, we went through the birth of, you know, like mobile games where it tried different methods, especially from the start. I remember
Mhm.
like when iPhones first came out, they just thought that you can kind of put sort of like a same core kind of game on the iPhone and people are just going to accept it. It wasn't the case, right?
Mhm.
And then so we matured through this process, and and at the same time, if you really think about it, core gaming market is still new to this whole free to play model. Like
Yeah.
whole notion of casual market, like the free to play is not something that's been accepted, for many years.
Yeah.
Even game journalism, like they have a hard time understanding free to play model. And at the same time, especially on the mobile side, it matured tremendously on the free to play model and what it can do. There are companies that are very successful with it, and with that also came models that actually worked, models that didn't work, models that actually tried to force people to pay and stuff like that. So I fully understand why when people hear free to play, there's always this sort of
Hesitation
Yeah,
almost.
Right.
Because it's kind of got a bad stigma right now.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, from the get-go, I want to announce that our game is not, pay to win.
Correct.
That's one thing that
Yeah.
That was that was actually one of the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
things somebody asked was, I hope it's
Right.
not play to win, and no,
it's
definitely
not gonna be
Yeah.
like that. I mean, we respect our users tremendously, and that's part of the reason why I even have Will here early on. I mean,
Yep,
we're at,
yep.
he was brought on at pre-alpha stage
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we wanted to start communicating with the users and stuff like this. So we were very, we're very conscious of how we communicate with users. So
Yep.
what they have to say
Mhm.
matters.
Yeah.
Free to play, I think for us, we can't ignore for a few reasons.
Mhm.
One of the things was the growth of VR market, right?
Mhm.
Let's just face it. In the beginning, there isn't just going to be that many VR devices
Mhm.
to justify like a huge game. But we believed in the VR market from the start. We knew that VR market's going to stay, and our goal was to come up with a game where people play for hundreds of hours,
Mhm.
not 10 hours and quit,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Which means it has to have a social element to the game. It has to
Absolutely.
have this long tail of people just keep coming for more content and consuming.
Mhm.
And that wasn't going to happen with just a premium game. It wasn't
Correct.
going to happen with just single player experience.
Yeah.
So it was a natural choice. Also, our target audience, we're sort of like making a Mario Kart of shooter genre,
Mhm.
and which means we're dealing with newer generation of fans that are growing up with mobile device, like they're used to this way of consumption,
Mhm.
right? So we had to
Mhm.
kind of cater to them.
Yeah.
So that was that. But again, at the end of the day, like the biggest decision-making point from my end comes from like we want to make a game where it becomes its own platform. Like we'll be around 5 years from now.
Yeah.
There will be more
absolutely.
contents for you to consume.
yeah.
We want you to be able to just access it even without paying at first. Like really enjoy the game. And if you think it's worth it, hey, support us out. Like that's sort of like the approach that we're making.
Mhm.
And we want to make it as rewarding as possible. On top of that, like traditional way of kind of like producing and publishing games, that model sort of broken these days a lot.
Mhm.
And being an independent studio, we had to come up with a model that actually makes sense for us
Yes.
as well. So these are sort of like the high level kind of like thoughts that we had making decisions.
Yeah.
Brian here actually is mastermind behind. Like he's quiet in the corner, but
Yeah,
Brian's
yeah.
actually the guy that you want to kind of grill if you want to get more
Mm.
detailed information about what we're doing. But
Yeah, what I mentioned earlier too is just when you look at titles like Evolve that kind of came out and had their kind of brief moment in the sun of like 3 months, 4 months,
Yeah.
and then kind of sputter out. Going paid, it might be a way for us to quickly make a bit of money, but we want to be around for the long haul,
Yeah.
and we want to make sure that players are able to find matches quickly. Players are able to find matches even at 2 a.m. If they want to get a game in late at night. So we need to have a large audience,
Yeah.
and we want all of the people who have a VR headset to be able to try our game with no barrier, so that the people who are really into it can always find players to play and have a really great time.
Mhm.
So we got a few questions
yeah,
and
we
got
responses.
quite a-
Actually, so before that, I wanted to thank was it Julie and Ironclaw for following. So.
Yes.
Do you
fir-
want to take the first one?
I mean, if we're starting from the top or from the bottom.
I was gonna go for this
Legal
one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So sorry to disagree, but does League of Legends not kind of prove that the West can deal with free-to-play if the game matches the taste of the majority?
So
Leave that one to you guys.
I actually have a comment on that. What's a little bit unique about League of Legends in that instance is that number one, it's automatically based off of an insanely popular free-esque game that was already put up through Dota. So you already have a little bit of a market there to start off with. Secondly, they built and ramped up to the point where it is now over the span of how many years? 4, 5 years?
Something like that, yeah.
It grew and really ramped up, like especially more recently.
Yeah.
And while it does definitely show that it can work in that instance, that kind of genre I feel kind of like definitely lends to it, especially with the fact that all of those characters and the multiple like versions of the characters lends itself to that type of setup.
actually, any successful free-to-play games, if there's any common denominator that you can talk about is the fact that they've been consistent for
Yeah.
a long period of time. They've been
Yeah.
servicing and they keep building on top of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the importance here is that it's not an afterthought. Free to play is
Yes.
not an afterthought.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
something that you plan from the beginning. And you know that it's not gonna just pick up like
Mhm.
overnight. We're committed to this, and this is what we mean by
Yes.
we believe in the future of VR. We're gonna be doing this for a while until we build up the community and we prove to the community that we mean what we say.
Mhm.
Right? We're saying all this, but then you have to put us to test when you receive our game and when we launch to see, hey, these guys actually we're serious about what they're talking about. Right? We're not gonna put out a game and because it fails, we're gonna turn it into free to play. That's not the model.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
from the start here,
Exactly.
we're building all the contents that's gonna come out. There's gonna be a ton of cool stuff. Like, we can't share. Like, we're not even sharing what
There's so much.
like fractional
Yeah,
what
this
we're
is
actually
like-
doing
like-
right now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like
And then
maybe
you just wait.
5%.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I'm
what-
even like learning like as we're going to like, oh, we
Yeah.
need you to make sounds for blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh, we're doing that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
So
always
what
learning.
Joel's talking about is like absolutely
Mhm.
dead on. Like it happens over time. It's
Yeah.
not gonna
Yeah.
happen overnight.
J. Mike abides. There's obviously some risk with developing for an emerging platform like VR. If free to play is a model that works for developers and help them launch a successful VR title, then I'm all for it.
Great.
And yeah, I definitely kind of agree with that.
I think huge part also is that our game also has VR and non-VR build.
Yeah, that's
Right?
good. That's going to
Crossplay
be
is
key.
possible, and if
Mhm.
you don't have VR device, you can still play our game.
mhm.
I mean, don't get us wrong. Like, don't get me wrong. We made the game for VR. Like,
Yeah.
it's optimized to play
Yep.
for VR.
That's
But-
our focus. Yeah.
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 But what we found out is that when you plan it right, you can have the non-VR version, and it's
Just-
perfect. It just
Yeah,
works.
yeah,
We might as
So,
well.
Yeah. So we're not just relying on VR market especially in the beginning, because there are just not going to be enough devices,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So and then as for the multiplayer users, you want as many players as possible.
Mhm.
So the crossplay was very important. Now there are other questions like, oh, can VR player be as good as non-VR player and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Which we'll probably deal with, when the time comes and
Yeah, it's
stuff
gonna
like
take
that.
a little bit of balance and testing,
I'm
experimenting, but
I'm probably going to be like working on that, if anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
We'll
that's
see
a
what
different
betas-
topic for the different.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
So somebody
yeah.
else, will there be a beta? Where can I sign up?
So beta, well, first off, if we announce anything along those lines,
Yep.
definitely going to community.worldwartoons.com and checking our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter,
And
Or
our
here.
forums.
or here.
Or
and
stream, yeah.
we're-
Actually, this is going to be our first line of defense. So
Yeah.
if you hear anything, it's going to be here first.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I mean, like right now, it's proof. There's not a blog out. The press release hasn't been done. This is like us unveiling.
That-
this
that
to
wasn't
you
actually
guys,
the
so-
We're
intent,
telling the
but-
fans
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna skip. a little bit.
Just where
well-
can I sign up? Go to the
Oh,
website,
yeah.
community.worldwartoons.com.
Well,
Create a forum, and we'll figure all that out later.
well, there's a few questions like
Yeah.
no in-game voice chat, please. It's annoying to keep muting. I think that was kind of a bit of point of contention that we were having at one point, huh?
I think
Um,
it still is. I don't know.
Yeah, we have definitely not nailed down that at all. I know that your guys' feedback would definitely help drive us to a decision.
Yeah.
So, like, again, if you have anything along those lines, if you want to talk that out, again, community.worldwartoons.com, have a forum post. We are actively looking at those.
Yeah.
Yeah, we take everybody's suggestions to heart.
Yep.
Unless they're really dumb. No, I'm just kidding.
Dragon shot.
Yeah, dragon
That
shot right
one,
here.
yeah.
How many
Oh.
settings will you have in the game, like death animations and graphics, etc.?
Lots.
Yeah.
Lots.
Yeah, again, we don't have any details
Yep.
nailed down. But, okay, so.
Or the Iron Claw, if you ask any.
Wait,
no,
no,
I
they're
didn't.
talking about matchmaking.
Yeah, a little bit more. Oh, yeah. So, Sigurami?
It's Shigarane, I think.
Sigurani.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Shigarame, yeah.
Talking about matchmaking, will you have one single server for all or split them up later? I think we're still working on the details for matchmaking
Mhm.
in that instance, especially like what type of matchmaking we want to go with. So stay tuned for that.
Yep.
The next one, do you want to read this one off?
Sure. Well, since you were developing an FPS title, how difficult was it to try and keep user comfort in mind to avoid sim motion sickness and develop a movement style that fits the largest user base? Since I
Yeah.
haven't seen too many FPS titles developed for VR due to locomotion issues causing motion sickness.
I think we need to have a different day just dedicated to that. That's
Oh
like
my
a
God,
huge
yeah.
topic.
Actually,
Huge topic.
this might be a really good segue
To
to showing
War
them.
Toons?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
Should I just?
Oh no,
stick
stay
around,
around
stick
if you,
around.
as long as
Stick-
you want.
stick around,
we may
please.
have you play the game.
Yeah.
yeah, we'd love to have you helping answer these questions because
Actually, while Brian and I are here, if you have specific questions related
Yeah.
to free to play, please give us those questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a one similar to that. Do you think you have a big enough team to keep up with content, considering Warframe, League of Legends, keeping a lot of interest due to updates?
Yep.
Yes.
So that's a very good question, right? Because I always say this to other people too. Like we're big for an independent
Yes.
startup studio,
We are.
but probably not big enough to like service something like this. But our team's growing. We May 1st, 2 years ago was when we soft launched our company.
Yeah.
3 people.
Mhm.
Now we have 40 people, right over 40 people
Mhm.
working full time at the moment. And we work with outsourcing companies as well for like building up materials and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But our team's growing. So it's the success of this product, as much as we're working hard, is also up to you. The fans. Like you got help us get the word out, help us to build a community. Stronger this title becomes, stronger our team will be, and we would love to stay independent and then keep making the world of War Toons bigger and bigger.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
Sorry, having never heard of World War Toons, how big will the multiplayer matches be?
Did we completely announce?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
that's
sure.
fine,
Yeah,
that's fine.
So matches are going to be 5v5 in a team setting.
That's not.
No, that's not necessarily true, because
In
not all
the
game modes.
team-esque setting.
Yeah, there you go.
Some-
Up to.
Yeah,
Up to 5v5
yeah,
or
up to
or
5v5
or 10 people in a match.
There are some free-for-alls, things like that.
Yeah.
But,
I love the free for all personally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Um,
did show off that
So
stage.
yeah,
so we
if
can
you want
say
to
that.
It
talk
gets
a
pretty
little bit about
crazy.
the movement
Yeah.
and stuff like that, I'll get us started on this side.
Okay.
Yeah, so now
Um,
Will is actually going to demo the game. Please keep the questions coming. We'd
Yes.
love to answer.
We will be answering any VR questions, any
Um,
specific questions about monetization or the free-to-play service. Like now is literally the time to be able to ask for
or
that.
just our
Yeah.
game in general. We have
Exactly.
our head honcho here right now to answer any questions you might have that we might not have been able to answer ourselves. So.
So, but in a little bit in the meantime, just checking here. No other questions for yet. I think one thing that I would that someone actually pointed out in terms of that idea of, and what you were touching into a little bit, is that we're not planning to do this. You bought the game, now we're just shifting in later. I think the only time that I ever saw that successfully put down was Team Fortress 2. But you see all these MMOs
Mhm.
that fell into that trap of free to play.
Team Fortress 2 is a little different because they were at a completely different timeline.
Exactly,
Like,
true.
Controller.
Controller.
No one's handing on the
I was
game.
gonna say that, like,
Yeah.
Please let me play.
I mean, core gaming market, especially at the time, was just free to play was like a death wish.
Uh-huh.
You don't even speak the word free to play in core gaming
Oh,
market.
Yeah.
So it was actually revolutionary that they switched over, and it actually gave a lot of gravity to free to play model actually when they did that. They were
Mhm.
like,
Mhm. So
Shigarami wants to know why did you choose to go for the Oculus but no Vive support?
we never said that.
whoa, yeah.
Whoa.
First off, no Vive support is. We did not say that.
We just said that at the moment we are currently aiming for the PlayStation VR and the Oculus. But
So I think that's the kind of the real question: why focus on the Oculus first as opposed to the Vive first?
Actually, that's not true. I mean, it's actually console and PC. Like, if you
Yeah.
want to speak more correctly. On the PC side, is it going to be Oculus first or Vive first, or is it going to come out together for them? Like, we'll see.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's one thing. There are a few surprises there that we're not like really talking about yet, but.
There's actually that's actually a few surprises that I don't think some of us even know exactly
Yeah.
yet in
Mhm.
terms of that.
And
So
I think it
That's-
speaks to,
there's- there's a lot of things.
as a
we don't
developer,
know.
we want to focus on quality over quantity. So,
Yep.
when we think about these things, we're thinking about, we have a certain quality threshold we want to release the game in. So, in terms of deciding which platforms to nail first, sometimes that kind of comes into it as well.
it's kind of interesting too when you think about like that multiplayer aspect of where you have to support not only the PlayStation 4, but you're also supporting for the PC market as well, and how wildly varied those two platforms are going to be, especially for an unknown which is effectively VR. So it can definitely get things along those, like it can get excuse me. It can definitely be something that we want to be able to focus on quality for what we release initially, whatever that is, and then really hammer down on making sure that everyone else gets the support that they want.
How long have you been showing this level?
So we've been showing
this
this
entire
level.
time.
This is for everyone who for everyone new to it. This is Dread Zeppelin. Dread Zeppelin is a King of the Hill style match where you take over a massive cannon on top of a giant airship. Now, what's unique about this particular build? Ooh, whoa!
Well, this is our PSX build.
Exactly.
Explosion.
So what's unique about this is that yes, we showed this
old.
off
It's
at
old.
PSX 2015. When I actually that was
Is
about
that
the
first
time.
you joined?
Yeah, that was about the time that I
Wow.
started. Yeah, I know,
That's
crazy.
been a
I
while.
remember making that joke. Is like what we do with new employees is send them to a convention.
That's true, actually. It was E3 for me and Will.
Yeah.
And,
And Corey.
So
That was, that was stressful.
a little
It was
bit,
fun.
a little bit of a question from Dinner Sonic actually.
Well, it wasn't really a question.
Dinner
It looks like
Sonic.
it was just a statement.
Okay.
But
then.
still,
I'm
yeah.
betting that they start off on the Rift and PSVR SDKs and would ideally try to implement the Vive or such after they have more content or completed / released.
Just to let you know, we've been working with all of them like from day one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like we've been testing on. I mean, Sony, especially Sony's unique because they when we started out, it was very difficult to get hold of.
Yes.
PSVR.
Nice.
At the time called Morpheus.
There are no Queen song puns. Sorry.
But,
There might be.
Oh, we need to
but
fix
yeah.
that.
No, but so it's been really good that we had an early start with Sony.
Uh-huh.
So it's we had
Absolutely.
a chance to like work with both of them. That's part of the reason why it's working really well on those.
Yeah. But now what we're showing it off on right now is the DK2.
Right.
Because that specific one works the best with this kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
build.
Oh yeah, in fact at E3 2015 at Sony's booth we're working we're running on PSVR Morpheus.
And the move controllers.
And with
Yeah,
the move
at
controller.
Yeah.
At the time we were using move controllers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
which-
at AMD booth we're running on actually CV1 at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
90 frames, very smooth.
Mm, exactly. So yeah, I think there should be a Queen song pun somewhere in this.
I'm
Another one
doubling up on
bites the
that.
dust. I don't know what else.
Yeah.
What other ones can you go for, really?
Oh, who knows? I mean,
Bicycle.
Yeah.